we're going to connect with the part that we'll call the critic. My critic is named piece of shit. I am honored that you're here and listening to my voice. So what we're going to do today is take a deep dive into the body, and then we're going to connect with the part that we'll call the critic. Now, if your critic is like mine, my critic is named piece of shit. Pardon the language. That's what I used to say to myself whenever I made a mistake. Now, that part has evolved. It has a new name. It's POS. It's my favorite part. It is literally the cornerstone of my recovery, my love for self. I recognize that that might not be where, I know that's not where everybody is right now, but the critics that you guys have, my guess is pretty rough. Beats yourself up in a pretty significant way. Doesn't make you perform better, makes you perform worse. So what you're doing isn't working. Let's begin. Sit back in your chair, lie down on a couch, have your body fully supported, and begin by taking 5 big, deep breaths. And the 5 big, deep breaths in the beginning, big inhales, and then big exhales. And instantly, you can feel something happening in your body. Maybe relaxing a few percentage points. If we can do a few, we can do a few more. On the inhale, focus on that expansion. On the exhale, focus on that release. And I want to acknowledge there are a million distractions. I invite you to welcome them. I hope you are distracted. I hope you are interrupted. And I hope you get frustrated. Not because I want anyone to experience discomfort, because I know you're going to experience discomfort out there. So every time you're distracted, every time you lose focus, every time you start paying attention to what you intend to focus on, congratulations, you have been mindful. You are being mindful. This is also a way to change our relationship with failure. Every time you think you're making a mistake, you're doing it right. Every time you realize that your mind is taking you down another path, an unintentional path, a mindless path, a programmed path, poof, you're mindful. And you're probably going to do that 300 times during the next 25, 35 minutes. When you have that distraction, when you experience that disruption, welcome it. It is the same way I want you to feel about your triggers. Since they're not going away, what's the point of hating them? That makes it worse. But what if you were able to use your triggers as the opportunity to wake up and snap out of it? What if you were able to dial into that feeling in your body, the thoughts that you have? And that's the cue, that's the prompt, that's the trigger to wake up. So what we're doing, men, is we're training the spotlight of our mind to focus on what we choose to focus on. So embrace those distractions, welcome them. That's life. Continue to breathe. Release as much tension as you can in the body. We want to be relaxed. We want to get you like a rag doll. Like if someone were to come over and lift up your arm, it would flop right back down. And we're going to do that in a deliberate and an intentional way. We're going to start at the bottom, work our way up to the top. If you've done this before, here is your mission. This is part of your hero's journey. Your mission is to go deeper, quicker. That means release more tension, feel more relaxed, create more safety, focus a tiny bit better more than you used to. Let's begin by observing. You are the observer. You are the watcher. You are now watching the watcher. You are observing the thoughts, observing how you feel in your body. Before we do anything with the body, it would be right, I think, if we didn't start by paying attention to the thoughts. I love watching the river flow, listening to the river flow, observing the river, the thought river. Observe your thoughts, at least try. Pretend like you're watching a natural phenomenon. You are. One of our greatest gifts is also one of our greatest curses. We can think and we remember. And we're creatures of habit. So we repeat those negative thoughts often over and over again. Worse than repeating them is we believe them. I promise you will learn that you are not your thoughts. I promise you will learn that you can attach to thoughts of your choosing. And I'll give you an example. We'll do it right now. When you fail, what happens? How do you feel about yourself? What are the thoughts that you have? What meaning do you attach to that failure? That failure means you're a worthless piece of crap. That failure means you are bad. So you're attaching meaning to that failure. That's the habit. You're attaching this meaning to this event. All in your mind. There could be another scenario where you learn from your mistakes, where you don't beat yourself up because you realize that that only makes it worse. Notice the breath. Relax your central nervous system. And what meaning can you attach to this event? I invite you in this moment to attach an amazing amount of meaning to this exercise, this community right now. This is a stepping stone on your hero's journey. You've chosen to take time out of your ridiculously busy day to prioritize your well-being, to train the mind, the heart, and the spirit. Celebrate that. In your mind right now, attach positive meaning to this event. This exercise has the chance to completely change the way you think about your critic part. If it doesn't, it'll help you connect with it deeper, give you more tools. Celebrate that choice. Honor that choice. No matter how bad you are, you're here. That's attaching meaning. Meaning to your presence, meaning to the community, meaning to your choice, meaning to your decision to honor your mind, body, and spirit. If you can attach meaning when things are bad, why can't you attach meaning when things are good? Or why can't you attach meaning to give you an alternative perspective that is likely more accurate and produces better results? You can, and you are. Celebrate this moment. This moment where you learn to regulate your central nervous system. Let's start relaxing. I like to start at the bottom. Release as much tension as you can in your feet. We're going to work our way up to the body, then we're going to get to the part. We're going to prime the pump first. We're going to relax. I want you to be more relaxed than you've ever been in your life. So what we're going to do, and here's the technique, is on the inhale, you focus on the body part. On the exhale, you let go of the tension. You release the tension. So let's kind of curl our toes up, like we're making a fist, but with our toes, and then spread them out really, really wide. Curl them again, spread them out really wide, and relax them. Feel that relaxation. The ball of the foot, the arch, the toes. And if you pay really careful attention, you can release the tension in each toe. In the beginning, it's a clump of toes, but eventually you can literally release the tension in each individual toe. Relax the tension in your arch, in your heel. On the outside of your foot, think of all the bones, the tendons, the muscles. Relax. And if you find that you have to move, try to stay still. It's not going to be for a long time, but if you have to move, notice you have to engage muscles to move. You must have tension to move, and try to relax. See if you can get back to that baseline. Relax your ankle. Relax that joint. Think of how tough those muscles in the feet have to be for us to be upright. Think how strong those muscles are. Let it go. On your next big inhale, focus on your calf and your shins on each leg. Take a couple of breaths to release the tension going down your leg in the front and the tension going down your leg in the back. And one thing I invite you to do, if you can, slow down your breathing. Slow down the length of your inhale. Slow down the length of your exhale. Doing that triggers the vagus nerve. Doing that tells your body that you are safe. You cannot breathe with long inhales and long exhales if you are not safe. So there's something very special about the vagus nerve, and we seem to be learning more and more about it and how important it is. But we can trigger that nerve by breathing in, 2, 3, 4, 5. Slow exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. On your next inhale, release the tension behind the knee and in front of the knee. Your next inhale and exhale, focus on your thighs and your quadriceps. Right? And if you're fully supported, you can release the tension in your glutes. You can release any tension in the floor of your pelvis, your abdomen. And let's give 3 breaths to your lower back. And what you'll find, men, is that there are layers to tension like onions and ogres. With each breath, you can release more tension. And of course, the mind has all this to say, has that to say. One of the key lessons, men, is the more you focus on your body and your breathing, the less you're able to focus on your chattering mind. So you're shining the spotlight of your mind on your body parts and on your breath. Release the tension in your middle chest, middle back. The next breath, let go of the tension in your pecs, your chest. And you may notice there's more pressure on the chair. Your body is less bound up like a sack of potatoes. Sink into it and let it go. When your mind drifts away, gently bring it back. Let's go to the fingers. Release the tension in your fingers, in your hand, the palm of your hand, the back of your hand. And just take a second to realize how much tension you can actually release. Your wrist, your forearms, front and back. Release the tension in your biceps and triceps, in your shoulder. Your delts, top of your shoulder. And two great spots to practice layers, your neck. 3 breaths on your neck. Big inhales, big exhales, focused. Now, it's a hard part to release because your head has to be supported. Even with your head supported, the body's like, no can do, not gonna do it. And eventually, do you know you can get so good at this, it's actually dangerous to move when you're relaxed because your body's not supported. So if you're getting there, make sure when you move, you do little subtle movements first. Okay. But imagine you're able to get into the center of that neck. You're visualizing the center of that spine, and from the center out, releasing tension. We carry so much in our shoulders, in our necks. Many of you have neck pain, back pain. Let it go. You deserve to feel safe. Your body needs this, and you are worthy. Now let's work on the face, my favorite part of the whole body to release because most communication is nonverbal. Most of that is in the face. Our face reveals. How many of us have partners who say, "You look like something's wrong"? It's in our face. Right? But now let's let it go. Sink into that chair. Relax the tension in your forehead. Imagine like hot honey coming down from the top of your head, like you see in the anatomy posters, and release those muscles. Let go of that tension. From the top of the head to the bottom of the head, release the tension in your forehead. Another place where, if you're paying attention, layers of tension. Release the tension in your eyebrows. Yeah, you need muscles to make them go up and down. Let it go. Here's another cue that I love. Allow your eyes to float in the sockets. So notice there's tension keeping your eyes closed. Let that go. They might open a little bit. Perfect. It's okay. your temples. Right? When you're stressed, you rub your temples, not too far away from your jaw. Release that tension. There's tension in your cheeks underneath your eyes. Release the tension in your nostrils. Release the tension where your mustache is, or was, or would be. Relax your lips. Your face is turning to mush, jelly. Relax your tongue inside your mouth. I don't think you can do this, but I like the prompt anyway. Relax your gums. I always feel something when I do that, even though I don't think I'm doing anything, but throwing it out there for you to play with. And remember, when your mind drifts to your thoughts, gently bring it back. Congratulations. You're being mindful. As you relax your tongue inside your mouth, you can release tension down into your neck. And now we're going to relax the jaw, my favorite place to teach layers. I think I said that about a couple of other body parts, but the jaw is a great place to do it. 3 breaths. Inhale, focus. Before you do, move your mouth. Open, closed, jaw left, jaw right. Pucker. Brings an awareness to the muscles. Let it go. Relax as much as you can. 3 breaths specific to the jaw. Your mouth may be unable to remain closed as you release that tension. Each exhale is still making you heavier, still releasing more tension. We could spend another hour on the body, and some of the guys on the retreat, we did one of these exercises, but we're going to move on. But before we do, scan from the top of your head, still lying back, still relaxing. Let it go. Feet, calves, shins, knees, thighs, hips, floor of the pelvis, abdomen, mid-chest, mid-back, upper back, shoulders, fingers, forearms, biceps, triceps, deltoids, neck, and face. And through it all, there's probably, I bet you didn't do it right. I bet you made a lot of mistakes. Maybe you're even beating yourself right now as we speak. Perfect. I want you to observe the part of you that criticizes and judges you. For some of us, that part is brutal. For some of us, that part makes us feel like we are worthless pieces of garbage. Despite being kings, despite in the 100 billion people that ever lived on this planet Earth, in the top on so many categories, yet we feel empty, lost, worthless, and not good enough. We're going to bring an awareness to that part today. So I want you to pretend you're able to visualize that part, even if you're new and never done any of the parts work before, like a comic book character or someone in a movie. What do you see when you think about that part that says these nasty things to you? Now we're paying attention to our thoughts. Now we're paying attention to the visuals that our mind that is showing us. As you try to imagine if this part of you had a face, had a body, this piece of shit part that you might have, notice what comes up. Notice how you feel about a part of yourself. These parts have catchphrases and thoughts that they repeat to ourselves over and over and over again. What's yours? You stupid idiot. You piece of shit. Garbage. Loser. I want you to imagine using the suggestive power of the mind, relive what the critic says. What are your thought habits around self-criticism and judgment and shame? All of that's in scope today. The shame part, the critic part, the judger part, the not good enough part, that's what we're talking about. Imagining what that part looks like. Taking note of what that part thinks. Noticing how that part might feel in our body. How do you feel when that part awakens and you actually feel worthless, unlovable? Someone who deserves to be alone. Someone who deserves to be punished. Someone who failed again. Take note and observe, when does this part awaken? When does this part take over? Imagine a scenario recently where this part was driving the bus off the cliff. When was the last time you felt criticized and judged eternally? And maybe during this exercise a number of times, but go back to a moment in the past few days where you really beat yourself up, where this part took over and man, you felt bad, you felt down, you felt low. Who are you with? What was said? So often this part manifests or possesses us when we make a mistake, when we fail. And why do we have this critic? What is it about it that we all have it? We'll get into where he came from, but what is this part's job? You go to HR, pull the file on this part. What does it say? Well, the critic's job is to identify failure. The critic's job is to make you better. The critic's job is to make sure this failure doesn't happen again. So I'm going to beat you up to make sure that message is clear. This part is a very important job, albeit with some terrible outcomes. But you must understand the role that this part plays, the needs that this part is meeting. If this part had a goal, what would it be? If this part had a job, what would it be? Make sure you don't make mistakes, I propose. Make sure you don't do stupid things. Beat you up when you do so you won't do it again. This part's responsible for quality control. Wait a minute. This part's actually trying to make you better. Highlight mistakes. Appreciate the severity of your sins and failures. What does this part fear would happen if it stopped doing its job? If I stop beating myself up, I'm afraid blank would happen. Well, there'd be no reason not to make mistakes, would there? You'd do whatever you wanted. You'd be a failure. You'd be a loser. You'd be alone. You'd be abandoned. You'd be rejected. You wouldn't reach your true potential. What does this part fear would happen if it stopped doing its job? Think about that. What does this part fear would happen if it stopped doing its job? Like a great comic book character, this part has an origin story. One, there's a natural biology to focus on problems and want more and not be satisfied, to never be good enough. So we get the biology. There's also an environmental component to this part. This part was trained. I want you to go all the way back, as far back as you can remember. And try to imagine if you were writing a comic book or a movie about this villain, where did he come from? Think about some of the thoughts that you have in your head. I'll give you an example. I was outside of Starbucks carrying coffees after getting fired, after getting hospitalized. Still had a few bucks to buy some coffees. I tripped on the sidewalk. Nothing fell. My first thought, nanosecond, faster than the speed of light. You stupid piece of shit. And that was at a time in my life where I was starting to pay attention. What a phenomenon. That happened so fast, faster than the speed of light, automatic, instantaneous. If I was a professional and thinking I was a piece of shit, I would have beat a world record. That's how fast it was. Trip, piece of shit. Automatic, instantaneous. That's a habit. I want you to think about your thought habits around criticism, self-judgment, self-abuse, shame. We learn that behavior. Right? We learned it when we were kids. For me, that's what my mother used to call me when she got angry, when she'd blow a gasket and said cruel things. But that's what she used to say. I learned that. And you learn your thoughts. And we're not blaming. Information, not ammunition. So try to imagine, just like you did as an adult, try to imagine that moment in your childhood that that is in the movie is the scene that highlights, that memorializes, that captures the essence of the training that you received, well-intentioned or not, traumatic or not. The eyes closed, relaxed, and whatever you're sitting in, try to picture that child. It's even hard to imagine what you look like. So imagine yourself in a photo, right? Then bring that image right into this vision, this experience, the training of feeling bad about yourself, using cruelty to drive results, using fear to create better outcomes. Using threats of physical punishment to perform better. Just notice what comes up, what you see. And you don't need trauma to have a part that is trained, although many of you do too. Maybe think of another event that helps you understand the evolution of this part. If you got a kid, you can imagine your kid experiencing what you experienced. We're going to wrap up in 5 minutes. So stay with me. And what, not just meaning can you attach, but what visualizations can you bring into this exercise to help this part, to help you feel safe, secure, okay, despite the mistakes, despite the failures. Superman had his fortress of solitude. What do you have? What visuals can you bring into your brain to help you regulate that central nervous system around this part that wants what's best for us, but is doing it in a terrible way, bringing some of us to our knees? can go so far as to wishing we were dead, can even go further. Some of you know what I'm talking about. Imagine that safe place. Imagine that place where the child knows there's no threat. The opposite of stressed. That's this place. Maybe you can hear a stream. Maybe you're in the mountains. Maybe you're on the beach. Maybe you're in an underground vault by yourself. But let's use a visualization and meaning to help these parts feel safe, where they can make mistakes without getting abused, where they can learn from them, where they're not in a state of hypervigilance and hypercriticism. Because in that safe place, we're best able to understand, what do they need? What do you need? And you can imagine talking to the child and being curious and kind and compassionate. And just listening, not telling, not ordering, not bossing, just curious. What comes up when you ask the child that you pictured, what do you need? How can I help you? How can we do better? How can we change our relationship with failure? How can you feel safe, grounded, and connected? How can you counter the training without making things worse? How can you make it better? Continue to breathe. Imagine that safe place. And again, from the top of your head all the way to the bottom, let's release another layer of tension in this magical, safe place where you feel grounded, where you feel connected. Maybe you're the most relaxed you've ever been. Maybe you're not, but you're relaxed. And let's shift our focus away from our thoughts, but into our body. Our body is talking to us. We don't need thoughts to communicate. Be present. Be kind to yourself. Celebrate your commitment. It's been 50 minutes of mindfulness, of relaxing. 50 minutes of learning to regulate your nervous system. Learning to change your relationship with this part, this critical part. You need this part. You don't want this part to go away. Think about this part's new job, same one, finding flaws, finding mistakes, making you better, increasing quality. This part doesn't go away. You don't want it to go away. But we could do without the baggage. We could do without the shame. We certainly don't need to believe the ridiculous things that this part tells us because we learned it in childhood. No. What action does this exercise prompt in you? What do you have to do to honor this part? What did you learn about this part? If you were to write one thing down, what would it be? If you were to repurpose, reclaim, and evolve this part, what job would it have? What role would it play? This is one of your most special parts. As much damage as this part might be responsible for, as much healing, growth, and success. We need this part, brothers. You do not want this part to go away. That's apathy. Mm-mm. But you can retrain the critic to deliver better outcomes without feeling worthless. To take a moment to honor these broken parts, to love these broken parts, and for the pure sake of just practicing unconditional love to those parts right now. The worst of the worst critics, unconditional. Love this part the way you might want your children or grandchildren to love themselves. Lead this part to create better outcomes. You have the power. You have the awareness, and this part doesn't go away. There's no future state where you're not going to feel worthless, scared, alone. That's not how this works. Take a few more deep breaths, celebrate this moment, celebrate this accomplishment, celebrate your participation, celebrate your membership in this amazing community. Amazing community. And think about, in closing, what action does this exercise demand? And what can you do to nurture, honor, respect this very important part? And that, my brothers, concludes our exercise with our critic part. So big your arms up ahead, stretch, get up, walk around, shake it out, and take notes. Take notes on where this part came from. Take notes on what this part looked like. Take notes on what this part needs. Take notes on the automatic thought habits that you pay attention to. Because here's the goal. You're using your awareness of the trigger and the thoughts to snap out of it. Every time I hear in my head, you piece of shit, uh-oh, I'm off. I need something. I got to step back. I got to reflect. I got to take time. Maybe I got to make something right. What action can you take?